Good morning. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are doing well. Wanted to end the week with some more gel application. I'm going to be working with the Synergy Precision Applicator tubes. Going to incorporate some confetti into the design, show you guys how easy it is to incorporate embellishments in your work. Let's get right to it. What we're going to end up doing is just kind of prepping the hand for application. I'm just going to kind of freestyle this. To tell you the truth, I don't even know how this is going to end, but I'm sure it'll be good, right? So what I want to be able to do since I'm sculpting is I want to be able to try to clip off as much of the tip as I possibly can, and then what we're going to do is just kind of shape this. For those of you guys that see that I'm using, one of the things when I'm practicing, I reuse my files. Yes, if I was working on a real client, you cannot reuse these files. They have to be thrown away or just given to your client after each use. It's going to be the same with your arbor bands. You want to be able to remove the arbor bands from the surface of the mandrel. Right, and one of the things that you can do is, I'll show you. So if you have your mandrel on, one of the ways to get them off, if they're worn, is to hold the brush on the top, and then you just slide the mandrel off. If you can't do that, then what I want you to be able to do is just tear it right there with some beat up nippers, right, or some toenail clippers, and you can spin it off, and then that shell just kind of slides right off of the surface. And then what we want to be able to do, I'm going to get a new zebra band. Make sure the mandrel is all the way in. That way when you slide it, if it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, you can turn it over and just kind of push it all the way down. But you have to make sure the mandrel is all the way down to the bottom. So what we're going to do at a really low RPM is we're going to remove the shine from the surface of the nail. Okay, so we want to be able to use a tickling motion, the same kind of pressure I'm using when I'm feathering away shine from the inside of my wrist, a very tender area. It's the same pressure you're going to be using as I'm feathering around the corner. You see that? And then using a feathering motion from corner to corner, feathering away the shine. And what this is going to do is going to allow you to prep the surface of the natural nail for your application. So once we're done, I'm going to be using swipe to clean the surface. This is going to dehydrate the nail. It's going to balance the pH level. It's going to remove all the oils and contaminants from the surface. And then it's going to prepare you for protein bond application. The same prep you're going to be using for acrylic. We're going to be covering acrylic next week, so make sure to tune in. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to do one coat, and then what we want to be able to do after the first coat is hit it with the second after you apply this to all 10 fingers. Boom, prepped, ready to go. Now, been working with gel the whole entire week, so you guys know by now that we have to be able to use base gel as our foundation. And when you're picking up a gel that has this type of a consistency, what we want to be able to do is pull through the surface. Right, so you're going to notice if I'm pulling through, I'm going to get a nice bead on one. I'm going to get that little tail. I'm going to tap that tail off on the side. You're going to see that we have a bead on one side of the brush. You're going to notice that when I actually set it to the surface and then I get inside and I pull it through, it kind of creates that little tooth. I'm going to set the tip of the brush on the inside of these legs, and I'm going to slide the brush and push it out to the side, ensuring that we have really good buildup, perimeter buildup all the way around. Constantly stressing this when we're working with gel. And then I'm working from cuticle to free edge, right? So this will prevent pulling from the edges. It's going to ensure that you have a really nice even coat from cuticle to free edge. You want to start from pinky and work from the thumb. You want to do all 5 fingers when you're doing base. And then once you're done doing that, inside the light for a minimum of 30 seconds. Now remember, while it's curing in the light, you're working on the other hand, starting from pinky to thumb. Don't start from thumb. Like the thumb is tilted, right? So if you were to apply this large amount, what's going to end up happening, it's going to end up sliding all the way down by the time you get to the pinky. So work pinky to thumb. All right, so what we're going to do after we've applied base, one of the things, right, that I want to be able to build out is a nice even free edge, right? So I'm going to be using the tubes. I'm going to go ahead and get my form. Oops. I'm going to get the tab. I'm going to place it on the underside, and then this is going to give me the ability to pre-pinch it and then establish a really nice even, right, application. You can see it's tilted, and I use my hand to kind of tilt it up, which is going to make it even. I'm not going to do anything crazy. We're going to do something that's active length. And now what we want to be able to do is take the tube, and I want to be able to squeeze out a nice even amount right to the tip, right? So connect it all the way around, connect it, and then once we actually have it connected, I can start using the tip of the nozzle to lightly feather from the surface of the gel and bring this out to a desired length as well as shape. I'm always working and building out really nice almond-shaped nails. Boom, right? So once we've established something that is relatively even, you could always take your brush if you have to and do a little bit of detailing by taking the tip of the brush and just kind of pulling it into the areas that you like. Again, this is just doing basic detailing. Once we're done, we're going inside the light. And again, it has the viscosity where you could do multiple fingers at a time, right? So you're not just building one. You would be able to build a few, cure, and then work on the other hand. You're always rotating as you're working. You're working on this hand is curing. As soon as you're done applying to this hand goes in the light, and you build, you're just constantly working. If you have one light, if you have 2 lights, then obviously you set it up where one light's on the station, the other light's over here, the hand is going in here, and you're constantly rotating while you're working. Okay, so again, I have enough time where I have frozen the free edge into place, and you're going to notice that I'm going to be able to pinch here from the tip. I'm going to be able to release this from the surface and then come all the way through. Now, what we can do if we're establishing, if I'm going to be working with confettis, let's go ahead and grab something really nice inside here. All right. I think to establish something, especially when we're working with a gel like this, we need to establish a foundation. So I'm going to brush on something nice and even from cuticle to free edge. If I was to take a little bit of the gel and just kind of squeeze a very, very slight amount onto the very edge, I don't need a lot. Then what I can end up doing is taking the tip of the brush, okay, and then again, I'm just gonna just lightly kind of work it from side to side, and then I'm just brushing it nice and even over the free edge, right? Then what we can end up doing is taking, a rhinestone tool, and you're going to be touching and applying confetti kind of all the way through the surface. Boom. Just randomly applying this all the way through to create a nice fade. You could, also use your brush, but what I'm trying to do is just really kind of coat the whole free edge with as much of this as we possibly can. All right, so I'm going to be using another gel over the surface after we're done. Got to be really careful with the edge of this, the wax, just because it can pick up a little bit of. We don't want to pick up the Furbies off of the towel. So just being really careful as we're going through, and again applying nice even amounts. All right. So once we actually have it set, I just want to be able to cover a little bit more. All right. Like how much is enough? Not enough. How much is enough? Not enough. Keep adding. All right. So there, we just have it kind of decorated onto the surface. Now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to freeze that into shape. That way nothing comes off. So I'm going to get that back inside the light. And what we're going to do is we're just going to create a nice fade. I'm going to kind of build out the structure from cuticle to free edge. And then as soon as it gets about halfway, then I'll lightly feather it in. So it'll look like an ombre. It'll kind of fade it into place. And then what we can do is we can cap the free edge with clear so it looks like we have a confetti fade. All right, so frozen into place. And again, what we want to be able to do is take the concealer pink, and at this point what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of squeeze it around the perimeter. And remember, we're focusing on trying to get a really nice even amount, but really focusing on the edges. So as I continue to work down the sides, right? Keeping contact, and then all the way down to this point right about here. Okay. What we want to be able to do is from the very front, very front of that bead, I'm going to just lightly start to feather this into, right, the body. So you can see how the concealer pink, it's just kind of masking. I don't want to go all the way over the top, because what's going to end up happening is I'll end up masking. I want this to stay clear. I want it to look like it's fading into the body. Right, so I just want to be able to work this. But you can see the buildup around the edges. I have good volume, like all the way around, even though it's a little bit of, it's a little flat, that's fine. It's still quite thin. So even with the concealer pink, what I want to be able to do so that my customer doesn't feel this really gnarly, like thermal reaction, the heat, I'm going to go ahead and set the low heat mode. And then the hand is going to go inside the light. You can choose to freeze, right? So what that is keeping the hand outside the light as well. As you can see, what that'll do is it'll set it at a really slow rate, preventing it from burning. But if your customers aren't sensitive, you can see the light. I'm going to go directly in. You'll notice that it's at 22 seconds right now. When it gets to 29, you'll see the intensity of the lamp go up right about now, right? So boom. And that'll stay at that intensity till about 60 seconds, and then it'll ramp up to the full power. That's the nice thing about that, is it'll start slow and it'll go up as you work. I only need about 30 seconds of freezing, and then I can continue to work. But at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a gel like Flex. I've been asked, like, what do you need Flex for? Well, I mean, this is a very, very thin gel, and there's nothing inside. There's nothing inside. Another. Jorge, can you do me a favor?
What's up?
Can you check to see if there's a Flex in the drawer next door? Another Flex gel. I have my bro looking. Flex or build pink?
Either. Build, Jack.
Yeah, build? Perfect.
And I got build pink.
Yeah, build pink will work perfect. Okay, so, all right, so a gel like build pink, right? Build pink. Like, you're gonna notice it's a very, very self-leveling, because I've been at, like, why do you, why are there so many different gels? Well, this is a perfect example of something that I could use to overlay the existing system that I have or nail that I have. So what I would do is I would come in and grab a nice healthy amount, tap off the edge. It's going to leave me with a nice even bead. And then what we could do is we could use this as a filler. So I'm going to come in and then I'm just going to use this as a means. Right? You can already start to see what ends up happening. I'm getting a lot because I need to coat the whole front end. Right? So not only am I going to coat the whole front end, I'm just going to kind of work it right above and over the top, keeping contact with the surface of the gel so that I can fill in the balance of the nail. The bottom has been established, but what I'm doing with the Build Pink is I'm overlaying the whole entire thing. You can already start to see how I'm able to fill out all that space. This is great. You're going to be able to do about one nail at a time when you're working with this gel. Don't worry about whether you have bulkier sides or it's overbuilt in certain areas. That is what your electric file or your hand file is designed for. So one of the things you can do, you could also turn this upside down as well. And what it'll do is it'll pull the gel into a certain area. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of floating it through the center, trying to maintain the right thickness. And then immediately once I have that thickness that I want, I'm going to go inside the light, as you can see, and cure that out. So you have to work fast because you're working with something that is moving like this. You're not going to be able to do multiple fingers at a time. This right here is a great overlay gel. This is fantastic for mixing glitters. This is fantastic for building, but you're not able to do multiple fingers at a time. I used the concealer pink in the tube to establish the free edge, kind of fade the body in, and then what I'm doing is I'm sandwiching the confetti with the self-leveling gel. Also very easy to move, less chances of you building bubbles into the surface while you work. This is going to make all the difference in the world when you're actually filing. So we have to make sure that we cure this out for a full 60 seconds. It's almost done. Once we're done doing that, it's going to come out the light. And, I have this bulky buildup here. So what we want to be able to do is kind of file this into shape. What I do notice is this, right? So I just want to be able to take care of this. And I find a lot of beginners don't do this. You have to look at the side profile here. So like if you look at the side profile, you could see that I don't have enough product built up across this area right here. So what I would do while it's still tacky is get another slight amount, and I'm just going to put it right there where I need it, just to make sure that I have the room to file before I actually, like that's, you don't want to file when you have an area that's real hollow. So when you take it out of the light, it's going to be tacky. Don't wipe it. Make sure you take a look at the side profile. Make sure you're looking around all the edges. Make sure that the low spots are full. That way, when you do file, if you have to take your e-file or your hand file to the surface, you're not going to end up filing it too thin. You have to be able to fill space, and you're not going to be able to add gel when it's wiped. If you wipe off the tacky layer, it's going to be very difficult for the gel to bond to a slick surface. I have swipe on my brush. I'm going to be using this to clean my brush, okay? That way all the gel stays nice and supple, right? That's all you need to do to clean your brush, okay? Just wipe off that surface. Again, we're running a full 60 seconds before we're done, and then once we're done, I'm going to take swipe. I'm going to make sure that I pump a nice little amount on that edge. That is 60. And then what I'm going to end up doing is coming through and wiping off the tacky layer, okay? Boom. So you can see now from the, I've pretty much filled in that edge, right? Even though it's uneven, it doesn't matter because the shape that I want is here. And what we will be able to do is use our hand file to put it into the right form. So let me go ahead and get my vent And I'll just go ahead and bring the camera up a little bit so that you guys can see. But if I'm filing my edges right to the center, you're only looking at the blue side, right? You can see you're only looking, I'm not opening it up. That way I build these really straight ledges down the sides. Then I can just kind of round off so that it's nice and even. Making sure that if I split a line down the middle, I need to make sure it's completely even from this side to this side as well as over here. And then what I want to be able to do is if I'm looking down the side profile, I'm lining it up at the lowest point, right? So if it's hanging this low, I need to line it up at the lowest point and file up so it's even. So I start here, then as I file up, you're going to notice, I don't want to remove, I don't want this to pop off. All right, so same thing, to get my sidewalls completely even, which I've done, I'm setting up. You can already start to see the shape coming into form. And now this is all hanging too. You can see how much that lower edge. I'm not going to start from here and try to bring it up. I'm going to start from the lowest point, and then as I file and I continue to file, you can see how that edge will meet. It'll eventually meet up at the very, very end. And then what you're going to have is a very, very straight extension working itself all the way out to the very, very front of the nail. This is important. Doesn't matter what shape. I talk about this in my shaping classes, and you can see down the barrel of the nail how even, right, how even everything is, right? And that's what we want to be able to have, a nice straight build-up all the way. So looking down the barrel, I still have all that thickness all the way through. So what we want to be able to do is we're going to switch out our barrel. I'm going to go to a crosscut course. I'm going to be using a crosscut course safety bit. I'm going to fire this up to about 10,000 RPMs. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm working in forward. For all you lefties, you work in reverse. And then from the side profile now, you can see that I have enough room to tune up my back end. I have enough room, right? Look at that. So it all, dude, look at how nice. Look, you can see from the side how since I was able to build up all that gel, I'm going to be able to really create that really nice upper arch. And then down the barrel of the nail, you can see the thickness here and here. So I'm filing in one direction towards myself. You can see how nice and even it becomes on this side. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm really going to work through and try to get that as even as I possibly can. And then what we want to be able to do is work around the perimeter to get the cuticle area nice and tight. All I'm doing is taking down bulk and then lightly feathering through. And what this is going to do is going to leave me with enough room to hand file. So I'm going to blend my edges, and then I'm going to come through. I want to make sure that my edges are nice and even. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. All I'm doing is following through. But, once the shape has been pretty much formed, you're going to notice from this point of view, the client profile, right, everything is pretty even. Right, so if I'm getting my hand file down the sides, then all I'm doing is kind of adjusting. When I put my file in between my two fingers and then rest it here, if I'm following down this profile, I'm going to be able to get it really even from side to side. There's enough gel here where I'm going to be able to really ensure this is going to be a beautiful gel fade with some confetti on the tip. You can already start to see, look at this. Look at how cool that looks. It looks like the pink is faded into some sick confetti. I love it, right? Let's go ahead and hit this up with some protein bond. Right, I have the dust extractor here. That way, it's constantly sucking away from my face. I'm going to take protein bond and apply a nice even coat around the perimeter and through the bottom. This is going to prevent the the top gels like finish or stain resistant top coat from chipping. And then you're going to notice that when I actually take a coat of finish, let's go ahead and get this on. This is where the magic happens. But you can see, right, how cool this looks, right? So just whatever embellishments you're putting in, I wanted to be able to show you that, you know, with the right technique and using the right gels, you would be able to build something that looks dope. I mean, end of the day, when you're creating a nail where you want it to be able to fade into confetti, right, from all angles, with the right structure and the right technique, you're going to be able to build something where your clients are going to absolutely trip out. And dude, I didn't even know what this was going to look like. I just knew the technique was going to work out really, really well. For those of you guys who missed it, make sure to rewatch it. I'll have it posted as soon as I'm done. Just wanted to make sure that we got in some killer education before the weekend. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you guys tuning in on a regular basis. If you guys have any questions, I'm always here to help. Hit me up. Let me know how I can do it. And again, have a safe weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday. Peace.